even with energy conservation efforts, current technologies cannot support both a reduction in carbon dioxide emissions and an expanding global economy. So he says, okay, attempts to restrain emissions without new technology will stifle economic growth. So let's say, so this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we're talking about current tech, and there are two things that we want the current tech to do. What we need to currently cannot support the reduction. We need to reduce CO2 and expand economy, right? But the point is, the argument is telling us that both the things cannot happen at the same time. So if we try to reduce CO2, economy will not expand. And if we try to expand the economy, then we cannot reduce CO2 at the same time. So if we try to restrain one, do one, the other will get impacted. Okay. Therefore, increase in governmental spending on research. Okay, therefore, so I know that now my conclusion is coming. What does it say? Increases in government spending. So increase government spending on research into energy technology will be necessary. So you're saying that government spending is necessary. Is necessary if we wish to reduce CO2 emissions without stifling economic growth. So they're saying if you want both, yeah. So if you want both together at the same time, they're saying government spending is necessary, increase in government spending is necessary. Now, first of all, look, when we say mind the gap, right, assumption questions over here, that becomes, very evident. Look at this. What are our premises? My premises are just that current tech cannot support both this and this simultaneously. If we try to do this, then this goes for a toss. If we try to do this, then this goes for a toss. That's all my premises say. And look, I'm going to separate them out. Now, here is my conclusion. Look at what my conclusion says. It brings in government spending. So first of all, tell me, my government spending is not even mentioned in my premises anywhere, right? So I have not given you any data about government spending, non-government spending, nothing. I am concluding about that. I'm saying, okay, based on the data that I have given you, and this is the data that I have given you, that's it. Based on this, I'm saying government spending is necessary. So then the moment I do this, I separate out my premise and my conclusion. And when I see here that government spending was not even mentioned in my premise, I know that my assumption has something to do with government spending most likely. Yeah, it will give me some link about government spending so that my conclusion becomes meaningful, right? Something it will likely give, not essential again, but likely, normally it will. Okay. So assumption. If research into energy technology does not lead to a reduction in carbon dioxide emissions, then economic growth will be stifled. So they're saying that research, if it does not lead to this, then this will not happen. That is not what our argument talks about, right? We say we want this as well as this. That is what we want the new technology for. They are saying that if new technology is not able to do this, it will not do this also. It doesn't make any sense, right? So we'll just ignore this. Now, an expanding global economy may require at least some governmental spending on research into energy technology. Again, now this is one of the most commonly confused option. People feel, well, it kind of makes sense. But then look at that. It says an expanding global economy may require at least some governmental spending on research into energy. What an expanding global economy, but it does not talk about CO2 emissions. It does not say that if you want to expand global economy and reduce CO2 at the same time, then that new technology will require at least some governmental spending. Then in that case, it would have made sense, right? But here it only talks about an expanding global economy may require at least some. So in any case, look, normally when we have a may, we know that they're not really saying anything, yeah? So when someone asks me, okay, are you going to go to the party tomorrow? If I say I may go, am I really giving any information? I may go is also equivalent to I may not go. So I'm not really giving any information. So normally when I have something like me, I know that, well, it doesn't really work. But then in any case, they're not even talking about reduction of CO2. And our aim is from the new tech is to have both simultaneously. That just that this one thing requires at least some governmental spending on research, it is out of scope for us. It doesn't really make a difference. Yeah. So this is also not correct. Okay, attempts to restrain carbon dioxide emissions without new technology could ultimately cost more than the failure to reduce those emissions would cost. Now, this is out of scope. Why? Cost. We're not talking about the cost at all, isn't it? We are saying that we want both to be together. We want that this should expand, the economy should expand, as well as the CO2 should reduce. Now, does it matter? Are we discussing about the cost of the reduction of CO2 or increase in CO2 or increase the expanding global economy, etc.? No, our cost is out of scope for us. So we're not discussing this. So this can't be an assumption either. As I said, just keep your eyes peeled for something which says government spending, because this is something new that has been introduced in just the conclusion. No data has been given about it. Okay, D. Restraining carbon dioxide emissions without stifling economic growth would require both new energy technology and energy conservation efforts. Now, this we know would require new technology, but is it necessary that it will require energy conservation efforts also? It's not talked about, right? Here, when they mention energy conservation efforts, they're saying even with energy conservation efforts, current technologies cannot support both, right? Now, they're saying that restraining this without stifling economic growth would require both. This is not necessary. We are only talking about how, what is required for new tech, a new tech which will give us both these things simultaneously, which will reduce CO2 and expand economy simultaneously. We're saying what is necessary for that? Government spending, right? Look at option E. Increased governmental spending on research into energy technology will be more likely to reduce carbon dioxide emissions without stifling growth than will non-governmental spending. So first of all, the moment I see governmental spending, then I'm happy, because it is possibly a missing link, right? So great. Now, this is saying that government spending is more likely, will be more likely to bring in this kind of tech than non-government spending. Try to negate it immediately. What will happen? Will not be more likely. So now when I negate it, negate E, I'm saying government spending is not more likely to give us this kind of tech, not more likely to give us this tech when we compare it with non-governmental spending. Well, if they both are equally likely to give us this kind of tech, then why in the conclusion are we saying that increases in government spending on research will be necessary? Then why will this be necessary? If both are likely, equally likely, then why is government spending necessary, increase in government spending? Right? Then non-government spending could also give us this tech. So then our conclusion falls, our conclusion breaks. And the moment that happens, we know that this is our assumption, right? Okay. So point to take from here, you break down your argument into premises and conclusion. Put your conclusion far away in your mind from the premises in an assumption question, and then try to see, is there something new that has been introduced in the conclusion which was not even talked about in the premises? And the moment, if you find something like that, then you know that the correct option will likely plug that.